All right, beautiful people. As a continuance, I was saying that once we learn the behaviors that we come aware of that no longer serves us and benefits us, the behaviors that we may have learned through our parents or maybe whomever raised us, then we can then find out and pinpoint exactly what we need to change those behaviors into. Now, if it's a verbally abusive type of relationship that we had when we were growing up, we're able to know, hey, I was verbally abused. Now I am verbally abusive, which is not very far from uncommon type of thing. I mean, it's pretty normal to become what you've been around, to adapt and immune, and to deal with situations as you've been taught. So it's nothing to be, ashamed, embarrassed about, but rather compassionate and patient with yourself is, like I said, the most important components with anything when you're trying to gain anything that is more of a benefit or pleasurable or of a desire of yours. Um, and with that being said, if there are behaviors that you're still committing and they're not beneficial, it's a domestic violence situation and now you're an abuser. If you grew up with an alcoholic and now you're an alcoholic, it's the acknowledgement of, hey, I've realized that this is just not benefiting me anymore, and it's a pattern. I've heard situations where down the line generations they have babies at 17. Women in the families have babies at 17, and now it's a woman that has broken that pattern, and she didn't want to be like that, so she took the actual precautions to not have a child at 17. And that's with anything. If you've been in like I said, a verbally abusive relationship and you're verbally abusive now, then to learn effective communication, to take the steps and courses, to realize that maybe you have a heart of rage right now, and that you can the things you can do to benefit the rage that you feel when you're in a situation where you feel like you have to become verbally abusive, to take a different route, to be aware, to be able to have discipline in your behavior and discipline in your mindset, to be able to take a deep breath or walk away from the situation or speak in a different communicative tone. If you're in a situation as a abuser that was abused, to know that this is not who you are. This is what you've learned, to accept yourself as your past, and to know that that is not who you are, and that you always have a chance to change, and that you can walk away from a situation, or you can go get a gym membership, or you can get a punching bag that you can go in your basement or wherever it may be and hit the bag. It's other outlets that you can use to, you know change your behavior patterns. Like I said, there's always ways to know that, hey, if I want to become a more effective communicator, then instead of being a verbally abusive person, then you can come to that person and speak in a normal tone, a tone with patience, and to know, hey, I usually curse when I get upset, but now because I know that that's not who I am and that's directly connected to my past, and I no longer have to be that, then I can now communicate without curse words, and I can now communicate with patience, and I can now communicate to understand. I can now communicate to listen. I can now communicate not to just respond. I can now communicate with effective language. I can now walk away from situations if it's no longer benefiting me, and I'm able to come back to it when everybody else is at a calm setting. Even with an abusive situation, I no longer have to become an abuser. I can now hit a punching bag. I can now go work out. I can now walk away from the situation. I can now ask that person to be patient with me, and sit down and let's talk about this. I can now use different behaviors. And I think the most important thing to know when you're trying to rewrite your mindset with behaviors that you picked up from the past as growing up, I think it's real important to be just self-aware in the moment, because in the moments is when we are not able to use our mind as much as we would like, because emotion is usually what takes over us in the heat of the moment. And if we're working out of emotional ignorance, then we're always, acting out in a term where it no longer serves us or benefits us later on. But if we can become more disciplined in our mindset and more self-aware of our behavior, then we are able to think more clear in emotion. I'll be making another video about emotional intelligence and how we can be more emotionally grounded and emotionally disciplined, how we can not act out of emotion, because most of the time when we're having these bad behaviors, it's usually a cause of an emotion that we're feeling. And to be able to identify our emotions and to be aware that those emotions are not serving us any longer in our greater benefit, then that's one of the most important aspects. That's like the beginning process of rewriting and changing behavior characteristics that we no longer want for ourselves. Like I said, it's always a need to, we always have a need to deflate a dispute or deflate a situation that may be blowing up and out of proportion. But there's always ways that we can deal with those type of situations. And sometimes therapy is very good, because if you go to therapy, then you have someone that you can go talk to about that situation, rather than if you have some mean, or you have some thoughts that you want to share, and you know it's not for the greater benefit, then you could share with your friend, your family. When I say therapy could be many things. Therapy could be writing in a journal. Therapy could be speaking to a professional. Therapy could be your best friend. So that's a very beneficial component. And self-awareness, knowing what you want to change, knowing the characteristics that you've developed, knowing the characteristics that you want to adopt, and actively working on changing the bad behaviors into the more positive behaviors. It doesn't come overnight. It comes when you're in a situation where old behaviors want to arise, and you've become more disciplined enough to be grounded in those situations and know that the way that you used to act it doesn't serve you, and to change that around by doing the next better thing that you've also learned or taught yourself, or seek help with. It's many ways to know that I no longer want to be like this. I no longer want to. I seen how this worked in my parents or whomever raised me in their life, and I don't want to be like this. And it didn't work. It didn't work for them. It doesn't work for me. And like I said, that's self-acknowledgement, that's self-awareness, and knowing that you want to do a different thing. You want to be better. So stay tuned, great people. This was a quick video. More coming to you. So until next time, take care.